Hi, everyone. I'm Deanna Beast, one of your service program administrators. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the exchange cards and how they work. If you've not used them before, if maybe you've gotten them and you put them in a drawer, or you just don't quite know exactly what to do with them if you ordered them. And so let me talk to you a little bit about that. When you order them, you get a little packet like this. And so if you ordered the holder along with it, that's what this is. It's a little plastic holder, and it has space on the other side. It has two clear envelope portions that you can put your cards in, folded in half, and then you have a handy little packet that you can carry with you, your pocket, your purse, your glove box of your car, or just keep handy at home. No one would know what you had in it. The other side is blank, and so you're good to go with that. You also get a little instruction sheet that just talks to you about tearing the cards apart, but there really aren't instructions on how to use them that come along with it. And so that's what I want to talk to you about today. So when you get your packet or you have it handy, then you'll notice that it's several pages, and it has all the different cards for all the different food groups on it. The front page has a card from each food group, and it actually says replacement along the side. So what that means is that this is actually just a replacement card. So in case something happens and you lose one of your cards, this is an extra card to put in your set. So you want to keep those. I mean, you could leave this page intact until you needed it and put it aside where you know where it is, just in case you might need it at a later date. And so if we look further on, let's just turn and look at the next page as an example. So the next page across the top has all of your meat and meat substitute cards. There's a couple more of them down here on the bottom. And then on the other side are two milk cards. Now, what you will notice is on each card, there are several numbers listed. And what those numbers are means that's the number of calories. And so if you're going to do a 1200, a 1500, 1800, 2000, or 2200, just like there is on your food diary, it gives you all of those same options, or your food log, whichever, whatever you call it, gives you these same options in order to do the check boxes. Well, if you use the cards, you don't have to do the check boxes. This is in place of keeping a paper copy or something on your phone or through an app, or however it is that you do it in just a tablet, whatever it is. This takes the place of that. And so you just use the cards to do the counting for you. So let's just say I'm going to do 1200 calories. And so I want every single card in this whole packet that has 1200 on it. It doesn't matter that it has all of these other numbers on it, because if I'm doing 1200 calories, obviously, if I were going to do 2200 calories, I would need all of these cards in there as well. So if you just pull out all the cards with the respective number of calories that you're going to do, whether it's 12, 15, 18, 2, or 22, that'll give you the exact exchanges that you need. So the next thing to do then is to tear these apart. And if you fold on the perforations in both directions and side to side and tear them apart, they will come apart clean and nice. So after you've torn them all apart, then you get a whole set of cards like this. So this happens to be the group of cards for 1200 calories. And as you can see, they're all color coded for each one of the exchanges. And so you have your meat substitutes, you have your milk, then you have your fats, then your vegetables, your fruits, your starches, and your free. And this gives you exactly the number of each one of these exchanges that you should be having throughout any one day. So in reality, that looks like a lot of food. Look at all the options that you have for the whole day. Also on the cards is not only the front side that shows you the exchanges that you're having, but on the back side, it also gives you some examples of each one of those exchanges. Of course, this is not a full list, and so you will need to find resources elsewhere for a full list. You can use your real life guide, which has quite a full list on the inside for each one of the exchanges. If you're just getting started, you could also look at your My Day One. That will help you to get started, or whatever resource you have for exchange, for the exchange system, so that it equals the same as what we're using with our cards. Then you will be good to go. But like I said, on the back, these give you some samples of common everyday items that you might be having, just as a little reminder and to help you get started. So let's just take a little pretend here. So for breakfast, we're going to say this is first thing in the morning, and I'm going to have a poached egg on an English muffin, and I want a little bit of butter on my muffin first before I put my egg on. And along with that, I'm going to have a glass of milk and an orange. And so that's going to be my breakfast. So as I'm thinking about my breakfast and the different items that I'm having, then I also think about my cards and how that will work with my exchanges. So I'm having an egg, so I'm going to take out one meat, because an egg equals one meat exchange. I have a half of an English muffin, so I'm going to take out one starch, and it says on the back, an English muffin, 1/2 is equal to one of the cards. I'm going to take out a fruit because I'm having an orange. And remember, with your fruit, it's a lot about the size that you're having. And so you don't want to have big giant pieces of fruit, because that might be more than one exchange. So generally an orange, about 6.5 ounces, one orange, or if you kind of think about a baseball, maybe about the size of a baseball. So I'm going to have one fruit with my breakfast. And let's see what else. A glass of milk. So I'm going to take out my milk for my milk exchange. I'm going to pull that card out. And fat, because I had a teaspoon of butter. And so let's pull out a fat. So now, out of all my cards for the whole day, I have now pulled out my 5 cards that equal my breakfast. That still leaves me with all of these cards for the rest of the day. Generally, what I do is then I take my little container. This one's mine. You can see it got my name across the back of it, because I used to carry it to retreat with me all the time. And so on one side, on the inside, then I put all of the cards that I have for the whole day. Then as I use them, I pull them out and use them. On the other side, I choose to put them in backwards. Then I can tell at a glance that these are the cards. All of these I have left for the day. These I have already used. And so now I'm good to go for the rest of the day. And that's just how simple it is. And so I think probably the hardest part is just sort of figuring out what foods go with what food groups. But I would bet the majority of you already know most of that a slice of bread would be a starch, or a potato would be a starch. You obviously know what fits into the milk categories. How about pastas? Where would they fit? Yeah, in the starch category. Also, you know all of your meats and meat substitutes. You know what those are. You know what milk is. You know what your vegetables are. So you've got all of your categories figured out, and your fats. So there might be a question about free, because we actually have some items in a category called free. Now, in the 1,200 calorie one, there's only two cards in that free category. No, there's 3 cards. I'm sorry. There's 3 cards in that free category. And so you might say, if it's free, why would there only be 3? See how that matches? You can remember that, free and 3. So, but it's because your free category just means that it has less than 20 calories in it. But if I have 3 20-calorie items, how many calories am I actually getting? 60. There's 60 extra calories. Now, if I had unlimited free, if I thought, oh, I could just eat this all day long, because it's free. And my brain says, whoa, if it's free, that means it doesn't have any calories in it. But in reality, that's not true. There are calories, or there could be calories in your free items. And so therefore you want to limit those as well. On some days, I know for a fact that you probably will go over your free foods, especially with condiments, if you're using condiments, but it'll all average out. Just don't make that be a habit, because possibly if you have 5 or 6 free foods and they're 20 calories each, you might have an additional 100 calories every single day if you do that. And that all of those add up. You might not add them up on your paper, but your body is adding them up regardless. So that's why you're only limited to three free, is to keep that in check. So I think this is a really easy way to learn the exchanges. If you're just starting out, this shows you in an easy way what each one is. Sometimes if you're using a, like you're going through the real life guide, it's overwhelming because there's so much information and there's pages and pages and pages. This way you could just start out simple. Maybe you just want to try one. So let's just say this week, let's just take out our starch card, our starch cards, and figure out how many starches we can have, what each of them, what they mean, how much there is in each one. And so I have 3 left, because remember I took one out for my half a muffin. Now, if I wanted to have a whole muffin at breakfast, then that would have taken 2 of my cards. So now I have 2 left. So for the rest of the day, I can have 2 more starches. So I could have some pasta, a 1/3 cup of cooked pasta. I could have some rice. I could have some potatoes. There's a lot of different starches that I could still have. Do I have to have one for lunch and one for supper? Absolutely not. I just need to get the required number in during the day if possible. And the reason that this works is because if you have all of these exchanges, you have had a balanced diet every single day. And that's the key, is the balance. And so sometimes if you're just counting calories, you might have, you could have a 1,200 calorie, I could have a 1,200 calorie candy bar and write it down, say, oh, there's my 1,200 calories for the day. So I'm good. And what if I had a 1,200 calorie chocolate bar every single day? Well, and then I get on the scale and it shows a gain. Well, how can that be? I only had 1,200 calories every single day. But stop and take a look at the 1,200 calories of nutrients that your body's getting. And your body's going, oh no, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. I need all of these other things in order to work properly. So when you do the exchanges, it gives you a full balance of everything that you need. And that's the important part. The other thing you might ask yourself at the end of the day, dependent on the number of calories that you're starting with and the number of cards, what if you have cards left over? Does that mean before you go to bed that you have to eat up everything for all the cards that are left over? Absolutely not. It could be a couple of different things. Possibly if every single day you have lots of cards left over, maybe you started out too high. If you started with, let's say, 1,800 calories because you were afraid to go down to less than that. But every single day, you've eaten a range of everything in there, not that you've left off just your vegetables, but you've eaten a little bit of all the different groups and you still have something left over. Then possibly you need to skip down to the 1,500 and see if that works for you. Sometimes even no matter what, maybe you don't feel well, and just depending on the day, you don't eat everything that's on your plan. That's okay. That's all right. Listen to your body and what it says, and you will get back if normally the number of calories that you've chosen have worked for you. I pull out 1,200 calorie cards. I want to make sure that I have at least 1,200. But if I go over just a little bit and I usually range around 13 or right in between. I would rather see all my cards used up and know that I had one other 100 additional calorie item. That's what works for me, than to have too many cards and have left over every time, because my brain will tell me eat more, eat more, eat more. And so you know how your body works. So listen to that. So I hope this has helped a little bit. If you're just starting out, oh, another thing you could do if you're just starting out, just take one of the groups. That's what I started to say about the starches. Just take one of the groups. So take your starches and however many cards are in the one that you chose. And for 1 week, just practice with your starches of getting all your starches in every day. And then the next week, add another group to it. Add maybe the meats. That would be an easy one. The thing with the meats is always know that one exchange is 1 ounce of meat. And so if you go to a restaurant and you get a 3-ounce portion of chicken on your plate, that's not 1 card, it's 3. And so be aware that your exchanges do not always equal your portion sizes. Sometimes they do. If you just have 1 ounce of meat, then on a salad, then that would be 1 meat exchange, or an egg is 1 meat exchange. So just be careful and make sure you take the right number of cards for what you're having. Milk, I'm sure you could incorporate in with something else. There's only 2 cards in every exchange. There's 2 milks in your food, or every calorie group, there's 2 milks in your exchanges. And so milk would be an easy enough one. You can incorporate that in with all the others. A fruit might be, I'm not sure. For me, fruit is really easy because I eat fruit every day. I do know people who do not eat fruit, they have a hard time with that. So this might be another one that you have to work at. And remember with fruit, it's really the measurement or the size. So if you're eating a whole fruit, it's the size. You can't have one of those great big red delicious apples and only count 1 card. It may be equal to 2 or 3 different fruits. And so you've got to make sure about the sizes. And there again, if you count one of those big apples and you have one of those big apples every day, but you just count it 1 fruit and the scale isn't showing up right, then stop and think about, did I actually look at the size of that fruit? Free might be an easy one for you to work with. And then we have fats. We oftentimes cut fats out of our plan because it's fat, but our bodies need fat in order to work correctly, to make all of the eliminations and make everything work smoothly in your body. And so we do need to incorporate fats into our diet. So don't be afraid to use fats. So this works really well for starting out. If you've done exchanges for a long time, then that's great. This is just a handy little tool to have with you and to use, especially if you eat out. This is really nice to have because you'll always be able to see how many cards you have left in the day. And so if you're going to look to order off the menu, you can look through here and see, oh, look, I have 4 meats, so I could have a 4-ounce steak. Or what if you had all 5 of your cards left and you were going out, you could have a big piece of meat or a nice steak, especially if you knew you were going out somewhere to eat and you saved it. If you only have 2 left, then you have to kind of look at it, and maybe part of it you need to bring home with you, eat part of it there and bring part of it home to save for the next day. So you always have an instant, accurate accounting of what you have ready for you wherever you are. You do not have to use this and a checkbox and the other sheets. Use this instead and use this as your guide. So then you don't have to worry about that piece of paper because you always have your little cards with you. So I hope I've helped you to figure out a little bit about how to use the exchange cards. So now get them out of your drawer if you have them and put them out on the table and get out the ones you need. If you've lost some of them, order a new set. They're very inexpensive from headquarters, and you'll have something good to start with to help you on your way. So let's get counting those exchanges. Thank you.